this neck. This is what I would call a boat neck. I forgot the brand. It's a fairly common aftermarket neck brand. A nice neck, very nice. But it's real fat, and originally I wanted a fat neck, but as you can see there's hardly any taper. It's real fat at the nut, and I'm going to take this down and make it a little more tapered right here where my 64 Strat is fairly tapered here. It's a little more comfortable, and I'm going to take a little bit off the neck here. I just got this new portable work table just so I could do this guitar, and it seems to be working out pretty good. Either way, there's my garage. There's my wife's stained glass window project that, well, it was her wish, my project, and I actually think it turned out pretty good. Junk you get at Home Depot when you stick it on there, but before it was pretty dirty drapes. Either way, I only have 15 minutes, so I gotta hurry this up. Okay, here's what got me started on this project. If you subscribe to Premier Guitar, you see that they have tips all the time. And this tip caught my eye. It was about sealing a bare wood neck. Paisley, what's his, shoot, I forgot his first name. The country guitar player, I forgot his name, Paisley. Either way, he likes bare wood necks. But the problem with bare wood necks, and I'll tell you a story, the reason I don't like bare wood is it soaks up moisture, and if you play anywhere in Louisiana, you're going to get into a high moisture situation sooner or later. And so he shaves it down, smooths it out to bare wood, then he puts shellac on. But it's a 50-50 mixture of shellac, and he said he uses isopropyl alcohol. I'm going to use denatured alcohol is what you usually thin this with. It's pretty much the same thing, so it should work the same. But shellac is a very natural product, and you wouldn't think. I've used this once before on some quarter round trim in my kitchen, and I was really surprised at how easy it was to work with and how nice the finish was. So when I saw that Premier Guitar was using it, I thought that was a good idea. And what shellac is, I'm reading off the internet, is a resin secreted by the female lac bug on trees in the forests of India and Thailand. It is processed and sold as dry flakes and dissolved in ethanol to make liquid shellac, which is used as a brush-on colorant, food glaze, and wood finish. So my story about not wanting moisture to get into your neck is my 64 Strat, my Black Strat. When we played with Johnny Winter, it was in Texas, and it was raining. It was one of those miserable 200% humidity, just drizzling outside nights. And I had kept that guitar safely by my side in one of the band trailers, which the air conditioner was turned down to about 60. It was freezing in there, but I didn't even think about it. I just didn't want my guitar sitting on stage when I was in there, and I couldn't keep track of it. So when it came time for us to play, of course I pulled my guitar out on stage in this nasty humid weather, and it's about 60 degrees. It's probably 80 degrees outside. It's the first chord I hit on the first song, my whole guitar was just dripping wet. And I've noticed in other high humidity situations, that guitar, which is pretty much bare wood, just worn down by wear, natural wear over the years, it tends to soak up the moisture very quickly, and it kind of weeps. And my other guitars don't do that. So I decided, and that's why I'm experimenting on this one first. I'm going to shave it down a little bit, shape it some, and then I'm going to put the 4 or 5 coats of this 50-50 mixture of shellac and alcohol on here, and then sand it with very fine 1200 grit sandpaper. And so that's to keep the moisture from getting into the neck in these humid situations around here. And I think it stabilizes it. And what they said, Brad Paisley, so you know, once moisture gets in there, you have to do truss rod adjustments, and you know, it just really affects the way the neck reacts. So you want that thing to be stable. So I recommend, well, we'll see how it works out, but I'm pretty sure you don't want bare wood out there. So let's see what happens. Okay, just wanted to show you. I'm totally winging this, so if I blow it, I screw this neck up, I have an option. Now, I'm going to buy a reverse headstock, big headstocks, late 60s style, like a Hendrix guitar, and a reverse headstock and put it on here. And my buddy Zapata has one on his guitar, and I'm going to get the same guy that made his to make mine. And right now I'm just trying to take off a bunch of wood, which at this rate may take a while. This is where I want the majority of the meat to come off. I have to keep going just to be sure. I just want a slight taper down to the nut. And I know on my 64, it's got a little hump right here, so that's what I'm shooting for, a little hump. And I think I'm already getting a little bit of a hump there, so it may not take too much. Let's see, the nut, yeah, even with the nut. Make it a little bit more comfortable for your hand down here. I mean, it's definitely a baseball bat, probably the thickest neck they make. And I got that for arthritis, just to see if it would help. It didn't really help a whole bunch. Plus, I don't know if this ever had a great shape to it. When I started sanding it, I could see some humps. It just doesn't seem very even. I mean, there's more on this side of the center stripe than there is on that side. It's like it's a U shape, but anyway, well, I'm just going to show you a little bit of this. Trying to get it down to where it's in decent shape. And then the rest of it will be the finishing process. Yeah, all right. Now you can see the amount of wood that took off there. Quite a bit. I think it turned out so far so good. I still want it to be a little fatter, just so I do have a fat neck. I mean, I'm using pretty, 100 grit paper, maybe 120, 160, and it's still smooth. I'm gonna get it down to, I think, 1500. Now on my other neck, the 64, I'm just going to clean the grime off of it. I don't want to take anything off of it and just seal it. That's if the sealer works good on this neck. That's why I'm doing this one first. Okay, it's really not that difficult. I mean, the hard part for me was that I had to take some wood off, but if you're just doing a normal neck, all you have to do is take the finish off and smooth it out. The last 2 or 3 steps are to hit it with some 1000 grit and 1500. They said 1000 or 1500. The instructions are online, Premier Guitar. There's a new article. I just googled Brad Paisley shellac or finishing neck or something like that. I found it though. And I mean, this neck is slick. So I'll hit it with the 1500. Then I'm going to do, I'll probably do 4 coats, which I'll show you that process. I mean, this thing is super slick. And then you have to let it dry. Yeah, I did want to point out that you definitely need to stir this up. And I got clear shellac. It'll say clear on the front. There is an amber and it's pretty yellow. And that's what I used in the kitchen, and it's too yellow. I mean, it looks like the clear is going to be a little yellow too. But be sure you stir it up, because I wasn't going to, and that would have been a mistake. I've got my alcohol in here. I've got about a 1/4 cup. I'm going to put a 1/4 cup of this in there, which is going to be easy to pour. I won't show you that part. And then we'll put it on 3 or 4 coats. 1 coat, let it dry. It dries really fast. Okay, here we go. First coat. Let's see how this goes. Let me stir it up just one more time to make sure it's on. So this is a half 50-50 mixture. Denatured alcohol and shellac. Just put it on with a rag. See how it goes. Ooh, that looks pretty. It doesn't match the yellow on the rest of the neck. I know the guy that finished this originally wanted to make it look vintage. I think that's shoot it. It was drying while I was putting it on, so it probably isn't going to take long. Looks like it's almost dry. Tell you what, it's looking pretty nice. I think we got a success here. Yeah, raise the grain. Fan on just to help it dry a little bit. Like I said, it's about 200% humidity outside. And it still dries within a few seconds. Alright, wipe off the dust here. Second coat, here we come. Over here. I'll turn the fan off while I do this. Second coat. Okay, and back on. So you get the idea. This is a very natural product, so it shouldn't affect the tone. Okay, here we go. Last coat. We'll let it dry overnight. Yeah, shoot, looks like it's separating a little bit. One good stir here. Let it dry overnight. We'll hit it with the steel wool and it should be like new. I recommend touching it up with the, or just passing over it with the 1500 grit in between coats. Seems to make it pretty smooth. I'll put a kind of heavy one on here. So, be sure it's all sealed. There we go. That's it. So tomorrow morning, we'll smooth it. It's super slick already. Very nice. Turned out great. I actually don't think the shape was so good before. I fixed it a little bit. Here's my 4 zeros. I think that's the finest stuff you can get. Oh no, they have a 5. Fine. Either way, use this. Just smooth it out a little bit. I have a little rough spot up here. I don't know if that's the grain or something I didn't sand very well. I mean, it hardly takes any finish off at all. I feel like you're just rubbing it with a rag. But I highly recommend this if you want the slick feel of bare wood, like a vintage neck, but then the wood is sealed so you don't have to worry about moisture getting into the wood, and I can tell you that is a problem. So I'll show you my vintage guitar neck, my 1964. I mean, none of the necks I have, especially the vintage ones, and even not the reissue, but the Nash didn't have a finish. I'm sure they sealed it, but they make it look vintage. It's just distressed or whatever you want to call it. But that is one slick neck. It feels really good. But I'm going to do the same thing to my vintage neck, because I can guarantee you, as moist as it is here in Louisiana, you don't want a guitar neck soaking up water like a sponge. And I've played enough outdoor shows to know that it's not good. That thing starts weeping water. At one time I could barely even play it. The front of the neck was so wet, it just felt weird. Alright, I'm probably rubbing it a little more than I wanted to, but it was pretty slick before. I don't really notice a whole bunch of difference with the steel wool. It was smooth already. That's it. Here's my vintage neck. A vintage guitar. Now you can see it's pretty yellow, and it has no finish on it. I'm going to attempt to clean this. I'm going to use the alcohol, the denatured alcohol, and see if I can just clean the grime off of it. And I'm going to seal this one too, because it definitely needs it. I should probably seal some of these spots where the wood is exposed. I mean, they're sealed with my grime probably, but I might hit that a little bit just to keep moisture from getting in there. But we will, I might do a video on this one, just clean it up. This is a very smooth neck, and I hate to take anything off of it. I mean, I'm just going to seal it and then smooth it out with steel wool. That's it. Hope you got a good tip out of this. I'm going to play this guitar. I was going to play it on this video, but I'll do it on a separate video, since I can only do 15-minute videos now. Talk to you later.